Hey everyone, it's Mrs. Contos here, and today we're going to talk about budgeting and get you some ideas about what are some of the main ways that we have to actually think about budgeting and how we work around a budget. So I love this slide here. A budget is just a plan because that's really all it is. You are planning how you are going to spend your money, how you're going to save your money, how you're going to meet your goals. And basically, you're making sure that within that plan, you're comparing your income to all the money that you owe in debt, to all the money that you have to pay in expenses. So some reasons why we actually want to be able to budget is primarily just because you want to know where all your money is going. If you are spending more than you make, that's called a deficit. And that means that you're going to end up in debt. And if you're not spending all the money that you're making, then you need to have a plan for where that money is going because that's surplus. And usually we want to put surplus toward our goals or toward our savings. So why don't you take a second, just think about what are some things that you think might get in your way when you are actually trying to budget. So go ahead and pause for a second, add that into your notes, just kind of think through that, and then we'll take a look at some quick vocabulary. All right, some vocabulary that we have is understanding the difference between income, which is how much money you bring in, and gross income is before you have paid any taxes or had anything deducted. Net income is what we call your actual salary. That is how much that you actually get on your paychecks that you have available to you. That is what we want to use when we start a budget. Your debts are what you have to repay. So credit cards, loans, anything of that nature. And expenses are monthly expenses that you have to pay. Some of these are fixed, so things that are going to stay the same every single month. And some are seasonal or they change based on use. And you want to make sure that you're keeping track of all of that. All right, we have here a problem. Natasha has a part-time job. It pays her $11.50 per hour. She works 22 hours per week. She gets paid every 2 weeks. What is her gross monthly income? And assume that there are 4 weeks per month. I'd like you to try and calculate that out. So again, if you need to pause the video, try to work it out and then see if you can answer the question. All right, let's talk about some actual principles. So principle number 1 is called PYF, or pay yourself first. This basically means that you need to take 10% of your net income and you need to set it aside for savings before you spend anything else. So that means that, let's say you're making $1,000 a month. You want to take $100 and you want to set that aside into savings or into a separate account for a goal that you have. But you want to make sure that it's set aside before you actually plan for any of your expenses. The other piece that goes into paying yourself first is making sure that you're keeping up with an emergency fund. Financial experts say, hey, you should have about 3 to 6 months worth of your monthly living expenses saved up. That can take a long time, so you want to be saving toward that. All right, here's another can you figure it. Matthew works 18 hours per week at the grocery store. He earns $10.75 per hour, but he loses about 15% of his pay to income taxes. What is his net monthly income? And again, assume there are 4 weeks per month. So again, pause this, work it out, see if you can come up with the answer. All right, our second budgeting principle is called the 50-30-20 principle. Sometimes we also call it 50-20-30. So what does all that mean? We talked in the Bean Game about the difference between your needs and your wants, and we also talked a little bit about savings. So 50% of your net income, so that's how much money you make after taxes and after deductions, 50% should be going towards your needs. So your needs might include things like gasoline for your car, housing, so rent or mortgage. It could include anything that you see as vital that you have to have, food, groceries. Okay, 20% goes into savings. Now, you remember, pay yourself first said put at least 10% into savings. Well, now we have 20%. So how does that work? A lot of times people put 10% of their money into a savings account or an emergency fund every single month. and they put the other 10% either toward a specific goal or into investing. So that 20% of savings is taking into account all your goals, all your savings, all your investments. And you could be spending more than that on savings, but this is the minimum amount that you want. With the needs, 50% is like the maximum amount. You don't want to be spending more than half of your income on your needs. And then the other 30% is what keeps people motivated with their budget. These are your wants. So anything that you want to spend your money on, that's your 30%. And again, you don't have to spend 30% on your wants, but that would be about the maximum amount that you would want to be spending. If you're spending more than 30% on your wants, then you need to readjust where you're putting your money. And most likely, you're probably going to want to be adding a little bit more into savings or investing, especially when you're young and you're planning for your future. All right, the 20-10 rule. This is for how do you decide how to manage debt or how to manage the money that you owe to other people. So your loans, your credit card payments, those type of things. So here's how this works. They're split up by two things. The 20% is talking about your annual pay. So this is your yearly net income. So how much money do you actually get in your paychecks in 1 year? You should not be borrowing more than 20% of what you make in a year. So if you are going to take out a loan on a car, the loan amount should not be more than 20% of your annual take-home pay. And then how much are you going to have to pay in loans or credit card debt every month? That should not be more than 10% of what you make in a month. So let's suppose that you make $12,000 a year. We're just going to keep it really simple. If you make $12,000 a year, 20% of that would be $2,400. That's the largest loan you should be taking out. And if you make $12,000 a year, then that means you make $1,000 a month. So you should not be spending more than $100 on loan payments every month. Now, here's the big thing. Because mortgages and housing cost an awful lot, we don't use this rule when we're considering mortgages because it's unrealistic. The other types of loans that we don't really apply to this are student loans, because again, student loans are usually more expensive than what the 20-10 rule takes into account. All right, can you figure it? We have another one. Kelsey owes $200 per month for her car payment, and she pays $300 on average in credit card expenses each month. Her net monthly income is $1,300. What percent of her income are these monthly payments? So basically, how's she doing with that 20-10 rule? Okay, try it out. See if you can get it. And here are your last messages that I really want you to get from this. It is really, really vital that you make a budget. And so something I'd like you to think about if you have extra time during this class period today is, what are you spending your money on? How much money are you making? And try to start tracking some of your expenses and think about, where is your money going? You've already started to set some goals. You can continue to work on revising those and sending me any revisions that you want me to look over. But you really want your goals to be part of your spending plan. Follow these recommendations. How much money are you actually putting aside for saving or emergency funds? How are you doing if you already have a car loan? How are you doing with those payments? Are you keeping up with them? And how do they fit with the 20-10 rule? Also, how much are you spending? And it might be good to ask your parents how much they're spending on different things too. Remember to plan for the unexpected. We've learned that things change. And don't rely on credit to get you out of tight spaces. That's why we have savings. All right, we have some room for our solutions here. You can check them out. And that's it. Tomorrow we will be playing a game in class. I'll be posting a Kahoot, and we'll see how well you can do with understanding your principles of budgeting. If you have any questions, email me and I'll be happy to answer them. And hopefully I will see you all tomorrow. All right, have a wonderful day.